What's more likely heading into Week 9? The fulcrum. You know what a fulcrum is, Chris?
I don't think I do. I feel like I've heard the word, but what does it mean?
The fulcrum is like the absolute midpoint. So we've got 8 weeks on each side.
Right.
Week 9 is the fulcrum, right? Because we got 17. So
Got
Week
you.
9, the fulcrum of the season. We've gotten here. That's the good news. Will we get to the end? Who knows? We only hope that it works out. Let's get ready for the games to come this week with a what's more likely exercise. Seahawks 6-1 at the 6-2 Bills. What's more likely? Your boy Blue, Josh Allen, gets back to an MVP level performance, or the Seahawks defense carries over last week's pretty good game against the 49ers.
Yes. Yeah, this is it was a pretty damn good game for the 49ers, but this is a different matchup. And I think this is a matchup that is not as good for the Seahawks as it was last week. You know, the thing that played into the Seahawks last week is they're not bad at run defense. They'll sell out to stop the run, and of course, we know the 49ers want to run the football, and their drop back pass game is not special. Well, it's like the opposite this week. This is a special drop back pass game, and this is a quarterback who's got some weapons to go along with it and a pretty creative offensive coordinator. And then I look at, like, you know, still lack of pass rush with the Seattle Seahawks and things like that. To me, this is where Josh Allen can create time and do that. I'm going to go Josh Allen gets back to MVP-like level. I don't know if that translates into them winning the game, but I think he'll play a really good football game, put up big stats, and going to look more like the guy we saw earlier in the year than as compared to the last, 4 games where it's been a little up and down and they've had some struggles.
First 4 games, incredibly impressive. They won all of them. Then they lost 2 in a row, and it feels like they've been fighting for the last 2 weeks to get out of that funk.
Yes.
Here's Josh Allen talking yesterday about facing the Seahawks this weekend.
We understand how well the Seahawks are playing and how well the quarterback, Russell Wilson, is playing there. And, we got no small task, this coming week. They're, top in a lot of statistical categories on the offensive side of the ball. And we got to make sure that we're doing our part and trying to keep them off the field as much as possible. But, they got some very opportunistic guys on defense, and they're forcing a lot of turnovers. So it's going to be a 4-quarter dogfight. We understand that.
It's good to know that Josh Allen is old enough to grow a beard. I think that's the first time he's sported that look. I
think
almost
you're
did
right.
a double take, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so getting ready for the winter in Buffalo. Got to keep the face warm in one of the colder areas of the country.
That's going to be a fun game.
And look, yeah, well, it is going to be a fun game because, number one, we're waiting for the Bills to wake up again, and this is going to be one of the tougher opponents they face the rest of the way. Number two, Jamal Adams, full go at practice on Wednesday for the first time in 5.5 weeks since he suffered the groin strain against the Cowboys way back in Week 3. He had a limited practice last Friday. He had an illness on top of the groin issue. Full practice this week, hasn't played. Full practice Wednesday is a pretty clear sign that barring some sort of a setback or an aggravation, he'll be good to go on Sunday, which will make it harder for Josh Allen to get back to his MVP-level performance.
No doubt. I mean, Jamal Adams he's special. We saw that the first few weeks of the year, and they've put him in some tough spots and asked him to do a lot of tough things as far as the safety is concerned. But I would think that there's an emphasis on getting Jamal Adams to be a blitzer this week or be around the line of scrimmage to, Josh Allen broke out of the pocket. Now you go spy or run him down and be that guy. I think you could see that a lot this week. It'd be interesting. And we're also going to see Carlos Dunlap this week too, right? That'll be another interesting wrinkle in the game too, just to see where that goes.
The Arizona Cardinals are hosting the Miami Dolphins. It's Kyler Murray versus Tua Tagovailoa. They have a little bit of a history from their college days, crossing paths when Kyler was at Oklahoma and Tua was at Alabama. Here's Tua talking about the quarterback he'll be facing this weekend.
I'm very excited to go up against him. I would say first impressions when I met him, he's pretty jacked up, for as short as he is, he's this guy's rocked up, but he's very competitive. He's very personable too. I got to meet his parents as well at the Heisman ceremony. Very good family. But going against guys like that who are very competitive and you're going to get their best, I think that's going to be a fun one.
I like how Tua was as diplomatic as possible. he wanted to say he's really short because he is.
Yeah.
But that just makes his skill set even more impressive, and it makes it even more fun to watch Kyler Murray. And here's the fundamental difference. Kyler has proven it over and over again. Tua, the jury's still out.
Yeah.
Because last week it was more about the defense than it was about Tua Tagovailoa. So what's more likely this week? Dolphins 4-3 at the 5-2 Cardinals. Brian Flores, the Miami coach, contains Kyler Murray, or Tua airs it out for the Dolphins to be successful.
Oh, I think I'm going to go with door number one on this one. I think Brian Flores will contain Kyler Murray. I do. You know, one, we saw Matt Patricia in Detroit have the right game plan, right? And again, of course, they were coaching together in New England. You know, after New England got torched by Deshaun Watson his rookie year and scrambling and everything like that, they really, after that, came up with plans to limit quarterbacks who can move a lot from running around, extending plays, and doing that, what Deshaun Watson did to them on that certain day. And I think they have the right formula as far as not going past the quarterback, pushing the pocket that way. They'll have certain guys who, it looks like they're blitzing, but yet they're just kind of hanging around the line of scrimmage, watching for, like, looking for crossers, but really watching Kyler Murray for when he makes the break, they're there to meet him at that break point. Added also, Mike, like we saw, like I mentioned, Detroit kind of slow them down. This Miami Dolphins defense has got studs. They got 3 legit corners. You know, they got big people in the middle who can really push the pocket. And then, you know, guys like Van Noy and Emmanuel Ogbah are good on the outside. They're not superstar pass rushers, but they understand how to play football, take to the coaching, and they are good athletes in that too. So, yeah, I'm gonna bet on the Dolphins defense really slowing Kyler Murray down.
In his debut last week, Tua Tagovailoa was 12 for 22 for 93 yards. It's an average of 4.22 yards per attempt. His average throw was 5 yards downfield, third lowest of any quarterback last week. I think we all want to see him air it out a little bit more. We all want to see him have to play at a higher level.
Right.
We don't know whether he can because he didn't have to last week because the avalanche came quickly, and before you know it, you're in a different mindset as an offense, right?
Yes, well, yeah, definitely. You can't blame anything for Tua. The game just unfolded that way last week. He didn't have to do anything. He played it the right way. He had the mistake early on. Then the defense started playing well. Special teams, you know, scores a touchdown. And then it became, hey, let's be conservative. They threw a lot of short passes, swings to the back, screens. He really only made 2 legit throws in the football game. The slant touchdown, that was great, and he threw a comeback to his right a little later on. You know, both look good. He's got good pop in his feet. We'll see where it goes. I can't say I sat there and went, ooh, man, the ball flies out of his arm, and, man, it really pops off the screen that way. No, I can't say any of that right now. He does look small out there. I'll say that too. So we'll see where this goes. I'm really excited to evaluate him because, you know, I was very much on the fence with him in the draft process. And the other thing I just feel a little here is we heard a lot of buzz about Herbert and Burrow through training camp and things like that to make you think, ooh, these teams like what they're seeing. There wasn't buzz about Tua. And I'm not saying right or wrong, but I'm just saying in my experience, and I think you're probably the same way in the NFL and being around, usually when that type of guy is really popping in practice and kicking butt, you hear buzz. And that gets out through the NFL, you know, rumorville and everything like that. And I think that's why I'm also very intrigued to see the Tua thing too, because I feel like we never heard that buzz this year.
Hey, I recall my first experience with that dynamic back in 2003, 2004 timeframe when I heard from a source then that the Cowboys really love this kid they have on the roster named Tony Romo. Right. And I'm like, who the hell is Tony Romo?
Right. Yeah, same, Mike, I knew him only because, you know, he was around my, you know, my age and things like that. I knew the name. I could still remember being in Tampa and John Gruden coming in and, like, talking about that. It was that right there. He had heard from a coach, buzz in the NFL. Hey, I'm hearing this Tony Romo guy's tearing it up down in Dallas. Like, Drew Bledsoe's going to be in trouble. That's how much he's tearing it up. And you were like, what? Tony Romo? Are you serious? So, yes, that's exactly what I mean. I feel like that never happened with Tua this year. And we heard those type of things with Herbert and Burrow, and that's why I think there's an extra level of interest, at least for me.
Pop quiz. If I say to you, who the hell is John F. Kennedy, what movie is that from?
I don't know. Who is
Oh, Back to the Future.
man?
Classic moment because he travels back before Kennedy was president, and he's looking for an address. He says, "Oh, that's over by John F. Kennedy Drive."
Right.
The guy who ultimately becomes his grandpa says, "Who the hell is John F. Kennedy?"
That's right. That's right. That's a good pull there.
Yep.
Good job. Way to go.
Right.
It's been a while since I watched that, but that's a bingo term, right? Old movie reference that no one gets. That's a Florio bingo term.
I don't know. Look, the control room's doing well enough finding the bingos. There it is. You sons
Bingo.
anarchy. Those are. That's not your job. You have enough jobs to do. Don't worry about the control room's job. Okay, let's move on to actual football talk. Carolina Panthers 3-5, surprising, but they've fallen into a bit of a lull here. They lost to Atlanta last Thursday night. They get to go to Kansas City to take on Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. What's more likely? Carolina can maybe grind out the clock, keep Mahomes on the sideline drinking Gatorade with Christian McCaffrey back if he returns, or Teddy Bridgewater airs it out to try to match the Chiefs' offense.
I gotta think that if I'm gonna pick one or two there, I'm gonna put Teddy Bridgewater has to air it out. Yeah, you can make plays on the Chiefs defense, but I think the Chiefs will realize in this type of matchup too, like they're not gonna let them play a slow death that way. The Panthers are a pretty good running football team. They are, definitely. And I think they'll be worried about, we're just going to let them run the ball and Christian McCaffrey on 8 and 7 minute, drives where they nickel and dime us to death, and then Mahomes doesn't get on the field. They've been aggressive for the most part the whole year, and I would think that continues. And Spags, against these teams who can run the ball, he tends to take chances on the outside and go, okay, here, we're going to play aggressive, but we're not going to let you just run the ball down our throats all day long. So I think I'm going to err on that Teddy Bridgewater has to air it out because they'll see some favorable matchups with their receivers where they're just going to go, damn, I can't let them play all three of these guys man-to-man like this and we don't take shots down the field. So I would expect some big numbers this week from Teddy Bridgewater and company.
The Chiefs have allowed 143 rushing yards per game. That's fourth most in the NFL. And McCaffrey's the key here. Yeah. And Sunday will be 7 weeks since he was injured. It was way back in week 2 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He suffered that ankle injury. That was that Sunday where the sky was falling for all the injuries that happened right out of the gates as the season began. And 7 weeks, man, that's a bad ankle
that
injury
really
for him
is
to be gone that long because there was that mindset. And I remember hearing at the time, he's not going to even acknowledge there's a problem. That's not the way he's wired, and he's going to come back as quickly as he can. Well, you know what? It's smart that the Panthers were able to get him to wait until he's truly 100%. Matt Rule, the coach of the Panthers, said Wednesday that he's very hopeful McCaffrey will play. And if they're going to have any chance in Kansas City, they're going to need him. And this is the kind of game where you can maybe catch the Chiefs peeking ahead, not bringing full focus, right? They lost to the Raiders this way because there are some big games on the schedule, and then there are the games on the schedule that you just kind of look at and you shrug. The problem is when you're the Chiefs, no one's shrugging.
Nobody.
When they face you. You're
right.
getting the best of every team, and this is the measuring stick game,
yeah,
right?
Right.
We've talked about that dynamic in the past. The Chiefs are now the measuring stick, and they're going to be a measuring stick for the Carolina Panthers. All right, Ravens 5-2, Colts 5-2. Ravens are going to be without a bunch of defensive players who are in the COVID-19 high-risk category. Although I think they may, the math, I never understand the math. I think maybe they get some of the guys back Saturday morning.
Right.
So they're not going to be as ready as they would be. What's more likely? Phillip Rivers isn't sacked by the Ravens defense, or Baltimore sacks him multiple times, 2 or more times? What's more likely?
I'm going to say multiple times. I am. One thing I'll say first off is I was really impressed with the way Yannick Ngakoue looked on that Ravens defense. So that gives him another guy. Phillip Rivers, he will stand in the pocket and, of course, take some time in there to maybe let a play develop down the field. And I think also with Baltimore Ravens and their ability to cover and do some confusing things on the back end, that'll lead him to hold the ball a few times. And I would think there's going to be a few moments in the game where, the Colts are not going to be able to just rely on the run game, and they're going to have to drop back and move the ball that way to where I'm going to go with Baltimore, getting multiple sacks on him.
Phillip Rivers has only been sacked 7 times in 7 games, so that's an average of 1 per game.
Yeah.
The Ravens' defense has 24 sacks in 7 games, and for 6 of them, they didn't have Yannick Ngakoue.
Yeah.
Bears, Titans. This one is compelling to me because both teams are desperate. They've both lost 2 games in a row. They get together in Nashville. What's more likely? Tennessee gets multiple sacks, something they've had a hard time doing this year, or they disappoint versus another battered offensive line. That Chicago line has been decimated by injuries, by COVID, and Nick Foles has been sacked 9 times in the team's last 2 games. Chris,
Ooh. This one's hard too, man. This one might be the hardest one we've had yet, where I just look at it because there's the Tennessee Titans are, pass rush challenged a little bit. They were better last week, but that damn Joe Burrow got out about 7 sacks. So, that's the issue there. The Bears are not really a hold the ball, let's wait for down the field throwing type team either. This is where I struggle with because, as we see, Nick Foles, a lot of the times when he's throwing, it's an empty set or it's 4 wide receivers, and they throw the ball and get the ball out of their hands pretty quickly that way. I'm going to go with Tennessee gets multiple sacks this week. I am, because of the COVID issues, because it's just not a very talented offensive line. And then I think also the fact that I think the Titans will be able to err on a little bit on blitzing, messing with the pass game, because it's not a great run game you have to worry about defending with the Chicago Bears. And I think that'll lead them to finding a few creative ways to get after Foles, who can at times, because he's so big and he is good at throwing with pressure around him, hold the ball a hair too long. So I'm going to go with it this week, even though I'm not feeling real comfortable.
Jadeveon Clowney, knee injury. He has had that injury for several weeks. No practice for him on Wednesday.
Here we go.
Last week he didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. He was limited on Friday. He's got 0 sacks.
I know.
This year for the Titans.
No.
0. And they cut Vic Beasley this week. He had 0 sacks. That was a wasted $9.5 million, although they're hoping that someone will pick up his contract on waivers and save them $1.85 million. So that Titan, it's just weird to see a team that has that smash mouth running game and has that old school vibe that can't get to the quarterback on a consistent basis.
It
Chris,
is.
They've got 7 sacks in 7 games.
Yeah, it really is. And they're in a tough spot too, because they have creative blitzes and things like that, but they haven't been able to, hold up playing man-to-man, I think, as well as they would like either. So that's where Vrabel and company are a little in a tough spot. Clowney, again, just to echo this, because I know you know this, but I just like to, 0 sacks. But, man, there's been a lot of games where, he's all over the place. He's disruptive as hell. But, yeah, pure sack assassin or anything like that's not his forte there. And, it is about disruption and just pushing the pocket and things like that with him.
We have yet to convince the Elias Sports Bureau to make F up the play an official stat, so we have not been tracking that. We'll get there. All right. Steelers-Cowboys, one of the great rivalries, interconference rivalries. It's special when they play. Not as special this year because the Cowboys stink. It's going to be Garrett Gilbert or Cooper Rush playing quarterback for the Cowboys on Sunday. What's more likely? The game is decided at the end of the first quarter, or we actually have reason to watch in the second half, unrelated to over, under, or whether or not the Steelers cover the 14-point spread?
Well, there's a wide gap here, but I'm going to go with the first one. Game is decided at the end of the first quarter. I am. The Steelers, they're foaming at the mouth every week. I think they're a team that's, feeling the vibes of how good they are, and they're going to relish this. And I don't think you're going to catch them sleeping. In fact, I think they're going to go, man, this is going to be fun. We're going to beat the crap out of this football team. I think they're going to enjoy it. They're going to be like, man, I think we can actually pulverize them into the ground. I think that's – and I would expect this to be, yes, the Cowboys come out and try to run and have a few things with Ezekiel Elliott. There's no chance that happens. The Steelers will be ready, and they're going to force eventually those quarterbacks into some passing situations. They're going to turn the ball over. I think this will certainly be over by halftime, but I'll take the end of the first quarter for this exercise here.
Ben Roethlisberger's 0-2 all-time at AT&T Stadium. One game was against the Packers, Super Bowl 45. The other game was a regular season contest against the Cowboys. And this is where being the Cowboys hurts the Cowboys when they're bad. We talked about the Chiefs being that measuring stick type of a team for any other franchise that faces them because the Chiefs are so good.
Right.
The Cowboys, because they're America's team, because there's that extra sizzle, that flash, that great stadium. You go there and you don't step into the trap of they stink. You go there and you're motivated. It's a big stage. Even if the Cowboys are winless, it's a big stage, and that makes it even more likely the Steelers won't stumble, and 8-0 is looking pretty good for them. All right, Sunday Night Football, game of the week, Saints-Bucks, 5-2 New Orleans, 6-2 Tampa Bay. What is more likely? Tom Brady, at 561 career touchdown passes, maintains the all-time record after this game, or Drew Brees, who has 560, takes it back from him.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tom Brady here. I am. Tom Brady is just – his arm is still too explosive. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And, of course, they have the explosive weapons to go on the outside and do that. And then added to that, I mean, Tom Brady's team has the #1 defense in football. And they can get after the quarterback, and they can cover you man-to-man, and they can do some creative things that way, and they don't let up a lot of big plays. That's the issue on the other side, too, is not only Breeze on that offense can't, make a lot of big plays, but the biggest issue with the Saints is they're letting up big plays by the handful every game. I mean, it's amazing with the Saints. They're a top 10 defense in yards allowed. They go through series of just dominating where you just go, whoa, is this the best defense in football? And then all of a sudden they'll have 3 or 4 plays out of 10 where it's like, there's 60 yards, there's 40 yards. What the hell happened? So from that aspect, that's why I got to go with Brady there.
Yeah, I agree with you too. And, how much do you believe Brady is pissed off that his first game as a Buccaneer was against the Saints and it didn't go well, and he had the pick 6, and he got called out? How much of that? I mean, he doesn't need any extra motivation. He's got plenty.
Yeah.
But do you think he has a little something more for this one because of the way week 1 turned out?
I definitely do. And the fact that Drew Brees is over there and everything like that. Like, listen, both of these guys are paying attention to this record. You can guarantee that. And this is personal to them. And I would bet you it's more personal to Drew Brees because he's like, wait, this was my one thing. I had this. Like, you got everything else. Let me have my damn thing. And that's where, Brady's amazing. And, the way Brady looks, I mean, he's not stopping after this year. There's no reason to stop. I mean, it's still one of the best throwers in football. He's amazing that way. And, and again, where I'll just say I don't even think it's close in this discussion anyways is Tom Brady played up in New England all those years in that weather in December and was still throwing those touchdown passes like that. And to me, that's where it's like worth an extra 100 touchdowns compared to what Drew Brees did. And that's where, I think Brady's amazing.
Here's what I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to know if Hall of Fame President David Baker is going to be there with a sheet of paper that he will take from Tom Brady and give to Drew Brees. Wouldn't that be great? Brees passes him, so Baker goes and takes the sheet of paper from Brady and gives it to Brees, and then Brady passes Brees, and David Baker says, hold on a second, takes the sheet of paper back from Brady and Brees and gives it to Brady. And we're saying that because there was some record, and it seems like every time Drew Brees plays in primetime, he sets some sort of a record, and they handed him a sheet of paper. I think it was laminated, which makes it a little bit better, I guess, when he set one of the all-time records. But yeah, you're right. Brees is the guy who's the stat machine. Brees is the guy who is destined to have all the all-time records. But here's the problem for him. Tom Brady's going to play longer than he does.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun to watch it go back and forth. But unless Brees is going to play one more year, Tom's going to own this thing when it's all said and done.
Yeah. Again, this is where Tom, again, I think he'll always be underrated for his physical ability. Do I think he's a little overrated in a little ways? Yes, you've heard me say that, definitely. Yeah, no, I don't think he's the greatest of all time. I don't. I think he's amazing. I mean, he's certainly one of the 3 or 4 best of all time. He got put in a great situation, that kind of accumulated into, hey, I'm the greatest quarterback of all time. But I think we could put some other quarterbacks who are in the top 5. We put them in New England. They'd have a lot of hardware too. And I'm not trying to take disrespect from them that way. But, Brady, I've never seen anybody be this consistently good for this long. That is where nobody is going to challenge Tom Brady. At least I don't expect them to in our lifetime. I mean, because it's really amazing. And especially, as you've mentioned before, it's like 2 different Hall of Fame careers. He went through a lull there in 2009, 10, and 11, and even 12, where it wasn't great football. Yeah, they won, and they were still a good team and things like that. But, man, after that on to Cincinnati, he changed his crap around, and he's been like, it was like a revert back to Brady in the first 5-6 years of his career, and he's been phenomenal really ever since.
I think it was on to Cincinnati combined with the drafting of Jimmy Garoppolo that fueled the second half of his career and created the argument that you could have 2 Hall of Fame busts with Tom Brady's name on them, pre-2008 and post-2010. Look, it's fun to do what would have happened if quarterbacks were in different spots. And we've had the conversation about, how many Super Bowls would they have won with Aaron Rodgers over the last 15 years? I still come back to the question of whether or not Aaron Rodgers is wired to put up with Bill Belichick over the long haul. Brady was able to do it for 20 years. Chris, I don't think Aaron Rodgers could do it for 20 years.
Well, I don't know. If Aaron Rodgers is drafted by them and gets into that environment from day one, Aaron Rodgers was brought up in an environment that, hey, it's Brett Favre. He's the king of the team. Look, whatever he says, we do. Hey, Aaron Rodgers, you took over. You're the king. Wait, you put 2 good seasons? Hey, king of the team, Aaron. So that's where it's hard for me to differentiate that way. I don't think Aaron Rodgers would have an issue there. I don't. I think, Peyton Manning, I'm sure he's a pain in the butt too in a lot of ways, but I think if he was drafted by New England, again, it'd be really damn good results, and he'd be kicking butt there too. So I don't know, Mike. That's a tough one. A lot of that is comes about by, I was drafted here. This is the culture. I don't know any different, and that's how it kind of molds these guys going forward.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.